All right, that one's scrapped too.
All right. Hello, everybody. We're having many technical problems, but they're basically laziness. Actually, it's not laziness. It's just we ran out of time on a very compressed day. And we are here live to talk carnivore stuff with you, some of which will not happen until next week.
Can you scoot over a little? I'm like,
yeah,
hanging on to the edge.
Let's do that. We've already got people in the chat. We got Mel, we got Carnivore K, and we got Keisha.
Hello.
We love seeing people here.
Yeah, and this is not how we normally start if you're new.
We're usually more prepared.
Yeah, we do have a day that is, like he said, very compressed, very compacted, and we have changed up the way we're eating a little bit, and that is also contributing to this day.
That's correct. And you're getting ahead of the schedule.
Well, I'm teasing it.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yes. You notice I didn't actually say what it was.
Oh, okay.
So,
what was the first thing on our agenda here?
I don't know where the schedule
It was,
is.
the novel that you can't find.
Yes, I was reading a novel that mentioned carnivore, and we'll bring that to you next time.
I was so excited to bring it up because it's, it's clearly the author does carnivore.
Clearly, and it's a really great passage. I will share it with you. I'm not even going to tell you the series right now because it's an 8-book series, and this book I read like 2 weeks ago. So I'm trying to go back and Kindle and pull up the right one.
It is amazing for you to hear about a book we're not going to talk about.
Next time.
So we already have a question from Mel. What was the biggest pitfall or obstacle that you had when starting? I'm so close to starting, but just haven't taken the leap. So I'll let you go.
Thanks a lot.
So I can think.
All right. The biggest obstacle that I had was that I did not lose weight right away. And I was primarily at that time doing it for weight loss. I didn't understand all of the other benefits that there were because I hadn't experienced them. So I was really aimed at lowering my insulin. Now, I was not diagnosed pre-diabetic at all, but my doctor was working with me on insulin resistance and as a result, some weight loss along with that. And so I started with intermittent fasting and having an eating window. That wasn't doing it enough. It wasn't getting my insulin low enough. So I eventually moved to carnivore and I still didn't lose weight right away. So what I did for that was I really focused on the non-scale benefits because by that time, it was pretty quick that I started seeing some benefits in my energy levels and my allergies. My allergies really got better with the eating window. So let's say this is my insulin when I started all this stuff, okay? My fasting brought it down maybe here, which was not weight loss level, but it did allow some healing for my body, predominantly as far as allergies went. And then I went carnivore and it went down here. And again, it wasn't to my weight loss, this unknown threshold for weight loss, but I started to notice improvements in energy and mood especially. And then as things started to heal and my hormones started to shift and regulate, my insulin went here, and that's when I started to lose weight. Now, again, this is an unknown threshold, but there was just some healing involved and some tweaking to figure out exactly what was going to work. So I would say that was the biggest obstacle, was just keeping my eyes off the scale and on those non-scale victories.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I lost weight immediately, so that wasn't really a problem, although I did plateau pretty quickly, and I stayed there for months. And more recently, I have cracked down and tightened my carnivore diet by eliminating dairy and artificial sweeteners. And that made a difference. I've done that for about 4 or 5 weeks now, maybe a little bit longer. But I was kind of broke through the plateau, but it wasn't very dramatic. So I think that the biggest pitfall for me has always been artificial sweeteners, because even though they're not contributing to elevating your blood sugar, there is evidence that they do pump up your insulin a little bit. And she was just talking about the importance of getting insulin down. And so I was metering in diet sodas, usually Zevia, which has stevia in it. And throughout the day, that might have been giving me what's called the cephalic phase insulin response and just raising it enough to prevent me from losing fat during that period.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as I cut all that out, I started to have a little more weight loss. Now, I don't have a huge amount remaining to lose, but I probably have a good 5 pounds that I can shed and not start to look like I'm too thin. And I've been thinking a lot more about insulin, and we're going to talk about that in a different context later today. And I have now begun time-restricted eating to give my body a longer fast period every day to allow that blood sugar and insulin to come down so that I can have some weight loss. So I would say that the artificial sweeteners were a big obstacle for carnivore since I've started, which was October of 2022.
I was also October of 2022.
So,
we really do recommend taking the leap because you can't, it's probably hard to imagine the benefits. You hear us all talking about the benefits and, oh, even if I didn't lose weight, I wouldn't I'd still be doing carnivore. And you're just sort of delaying those other benefits.
yeah.
You can't control which benefits. You don't know what's going to hit first and what's going to happen. But the resounding theme of carnivore is that we notice so many positive changes within our body that, we really do recommend.
What are those changes very quickly?
Oh my gosh. I've been able to cut my medications in half, my hormone replacement therapy, my thyroid. I am at a all-time high since like my 20s as far as energy. My mood is the best it's ever been in my teenager adult life. My mood is fantastic. And I have a bad ankle. I was in a car accident, sprained the ankle. The tendon was stretched. So I was told the only way to fix it is to have surgery and have that tendon tacked down. I don't know, but it seems like it's tightened. It's not slipping anymore. And that's a 30-some year injury. So, those are just a few of mine. What about yours?
Well, I've eliminated IBS, acid reflux, which hit me mostly at night. I was able to go off of my SSRI and have my anxiety levels be the same, which is very low. So that's been amazing. Long-time chronic back pain is pretty much gone. I would injure it several times a year and walk around sideways or bent over sideways. I wouldn't walk sideways. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
That's gone. Some sort of early signs of benign prostatic hyperplasia have reduced dramatically. So that's great for me. And hopefully that will result in me getting up less frequently in the night. More recently, my sleep has gotten better.
Yeah, it has, but that was a long haul.
My recovery after workouts is way better because I'm getting all that protein. I just don't feel icky and bloated all of the time. While I do have some carb cravings occasionally, they are way, way reduced.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we could probably go on with more. I've got a list that I've been putting together, but those are just some of them. So those non-scale benefits are worth it.
Yeah.
Period.
Now, at first, you've probably heard of the adaptation phase. So it usually they say the general consensus is that it can take like 3 to 6 weeks to really move into the adaptation phase. So again, a lot of people notice changes very quickly within days, but there can be some discomfort in that adaptation phase too, like involuntary cleansing, we call it. Of course, sugar withdrawal, it depends, how addicted to carbs you may be at this point, how much you eat carbs in your diet. There's some withdrawal symptoms, and there can be some energy, that keto flu, I guess. So I did not, I'm trying to think. I didn't have a big adaptation phase, but I had done keto in the past. So I feel like my body was able to switch a little more. I experienced adaptation back then with headache, worst headache of my life. But this time around, and that's been years and years and years and years ago. But this time around, it went pretty smoothly for me.
Okay, so we're going to move on to talk about time restricted eating. If you are doing time restricted eating, please mention in the chat what your eating window is, or if you're doing longer fasts, let us know so that we can pop those up. But you've been doing time restricted eating and fasting for a couple years.
Yes, it's been about 2.5 years that was my journey into this. And it was prescribed to me by my doctor. Now, I'd heard of it from you before. You'd mentioned it in passing at one point. But my doctor recommended it, and I started dirty fasting. And dirty fasting is I was drinking an artificially sweetened drink. It's basically adding any sweetness or flavors or calories to your fasting window. Basically, the clean fast is just doing either coffee or tea, no sugar, no sweetener, no cream, and water during your fasting period. And so I did start clean fasting in March of 2022.
And so you did that before carnivore.
I did that before carnivore. I did not see any benefits when I was starting my morning with my 0-calorie energy drink. I didn't see any benefits. But as I mentioned, once I eliminated that and went to the clean fast, I did notice allergy reduction immediately. Yeah.
So I had done some time restricted eating when I first started carnivore back in October of 2022, but I didn't last very long. And in our last video on this channel, where I talk about my weight loss and benefits from carnivore, I mentioned that I keep an electronic journal on my Mac, and I searched for carnivore, and I discovered things I had forgotten. And one of them was that time restricted eating. But what had happened from that October into November was I lost weight very rapidly, and I was so convinced that I was losing muscle mass that I stopped the time restricted eating because it was very dramatic, and I was very concerned that I was going to lose muscle mass. And I'm 53, and I don't want to lose any muscle mass if I can avoid it at all. So I had stopped doing it. And then I proceeded with carnivore, and I got very much into the habit of I have to have my breakfast because in the morning I'm starving. And then I would have some sort of beef-based lunch. And by dinner, I was pretty much not that interested in eating. I mean, I could kind of get some bites down, but I was dealing with beef aversion, which is storied on this channel. And so in the past 3 days, I have instituted a eating window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has already made a huge difference. She just made us dunch, which is dinner/lunch at 2 p.m. And that will be the last meal that I have today. And so I'm going to do my fasted period from dunch till breakfast, rather than some people skip all the meals until dinner and then they have that.
Yeah.
And so far, great. I think I've already derived a few little benefits, some evidence of a little de-inflammation.
Oh, really?
But I can't report. I mean, that's just, could be placebo. Who knows?
Oh, it's too soon to tell.
It's too soon to tell.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I'm looking forward to continuing to shed some fat because this eating window idea gives me a longer period of time to use up blood glycogen and therefore let insulin drop to whatever mystery threshold it needs to in order for me to continue to lose fat.
Yes.
And this brings us to the Ben Bikman video that I watched today. We're not going to show it here. I will drop a link. Let me see. I have the link.
I want to sort of mention, we've talked a lot about insulin today already, and if you're following carnivore, you've probably heard people say calories don't really matter. Yes, we do use it for just to check in that we're eating enough, etc. But calories, it's not a most carnivores are not bought into the calorie in, calorie out weight loss hypothesis. They're into the hormone hypothesis. And insulin is one of those, is that primary primary hormone that we're paying attention to. So, and Ben Bikman talks about, he's an insulin specialist, and he really talks about this hormone hypothesis around metabolic health.
Exactly. And that the video that I've linked in the chat, the chat, and which is on the screen right now, is the one that I want to talk about. And what he specifically talks about is the Randle cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd heard this mentioned before on different YouTube channels. I've seen Professor Bart K talk about it. And I just got more curious about it because JJ has lost 30 pounds
Mm-hmm.
over the course of her adventure. And I've lost 25. So we've done very, very well.
Yes.
But she didn't hit the plateau. She started with a plateau and then has kind of been pretty steady.
Mm-hmm.
Very slow, but steady.
Very slow, but steady.
So I got really interested in verifying for myself her story about insulin so that I could then mansplain back to her why it worked.
Yep.
And so now I can do that. But though I'm not going to get into explaining the Randle cycle. I just wanted to put this out there for people who want to get into the weeds about it, because once you understand it, it really clicks better than hearing us talk about it.
Yeah, but can you give I'm sure there are people out there who do not know what the Randle cycle is. Like, if you just had said the Randle cycle to me, I wouldn't know what you're talking about.
So it's named after a guy named Randle.
Great.
Who released his paper in 1968 or something like that. And they had done study on, I think, like rat or rabbit heart muscle. And what they discovered was the interplay between free fatty acids in the blood, glucose in the blood or glycogen, and insulin. And the fundamental idea to understand is that if glucose is available at a higher level than the free fatty acids, the mitochondria start burning the glucose. That also prompts insulin to be released from the pancreas, and insulin is trying to store excess glucose in fat tissue. So the very presence of insulin at those levels turns off the whole lipolysis, which is removing fatty acids from fat tissue. So if insulin is high, it locks the door for fat to be drawn from your fat stores. That's the whole point of everything we've said.
Yeah, you're burning sugar.
And so while we tend to think in terms of blood sugar, well, downstream of that is insulin. And not everybody has the same ability to respond to doses of blood sugar. So we have this idea of insulin sensitivity or resistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the takeaway is, one, watch Bikman, because he explains it in detail. It gets technical, but it's actually very clear. And it makes a really interesting connection. And one of those was when he explains how type 1 diabetics can often find it impossible not to be burning fat. Why? Because they don't have an insulin to respond to sugars.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can be very thin. And some will even manage having supplementing with less insulin in order to stay thin, because they find once they start adding insulin, they start gaining weight, because that's what insulin does. Mm-hmm. That's not a safe thing to do.
No, I think they call it diabulimia or something.
I had never heard that.
I believe, yeah, it's considered an eating disorder, basically.
So I may not be explaining this well. I'm very excited about it because now I understand it. It's true. When she was talking about it, it was notional.
I get, and that's okay that he says that. I've said this story many times. When he brought home this whole idea about eating more protein, He never said the word carnivore. But more protein, I rolled my eyes. Not at him, but in my head, I was rolling my eyes too.
In my defense, it's not because you're a woman. It's just how I was treated as a kid by everybody around me. I could say, hey, learn this thing. I don't know. Let me go see if it's true. And then they learn it and they're like, hey, I just learned this thing. And I'm like, I just said that. Wasn't that a thing in the Wonderbug show?
I do not. I remember the show, but I don't remember that.
Or was it in Scooby-Doo?
I don't know.
One of the characters would have the idea and say it, and then a different character would have the idea and say it, and everybody like, oh, that's a great idea.
But I think that just comes from having a long history with someone. You're just like, because I mean, sometimes you're brilliant. Sometimes I'm brilliant. Sometimes we're not brilliant.
Yeah.
and we see all sides.
So highly recommend the Ben Bikman video. Watch it, learn, and execute on your own insulin management. Let's see. We have Carnivore K says hello from North Carolina.
Hello, North Carolina.
And Keisha says Lexington, North Carolina.
Hello, North Carolina. Wow.
Wow. And Bree says hi from Kansas City.
Nice.
Now
Hello, Bree.
Pardon me, I just ate very smoky burger patties.
Ooh.
And smoke doesn't agree with my gut very well. So, isn't there a Kansas City strip steak?
Kansas City, I think, has its whole thing around meat. Like there is Kansas City steak house, or like there's a big thing around meat in Kansas City. I don't know you're going to have to help me out, Bree. But yeah, I know that I've given my brother gift certificates for Kansas City meat. And I know I think there's Kansas City barbecue too. Like, I think that's a special barbecue type thing.
Yeah, let us know what the Kansas City meat thing is. But I swear I see a Kansas strip steak or a Kansas City strip. And I don't know if that's distinct from a New York strip or if it's just the Midwest having a fight with New York and saying, no, it's our strip, not your strip.
That could be.
Wealthy T, hello from Mineola, Florida.
Hello, Florida.
It feels like Florida here today.
It does.
It was mid 80s and 1,000,000,000% humidity.
But I actually understand that we are not getting the worst of the heat wave in the country. I think we've got a countrywide heat wave, and we're actually one of the fortunate ones, even though it feels hot. Yeah.
Well, I don't care about the rest of the country.
No, you're here.
I feel what I feel. I have empathy. When I say I don't care, what I mean is I'm not experiencing what you're experiencing, and therefore I can only imagine it. But Lisa Green says, hi from New York. Did you guys get the electrolyte and mineral stuff from Walmart?
I actually looked for it right after you brought it up, and I was in the store, couldn't remember the name. I didn't see anything offhand. I looked at a few things. So drop the name again, because I would love to check it out again.
Yeah. We keep paying the premium for LMNT. LMNNT.
Mm-hmm.
And Walmart has the same or similar thing for less. We're interested in, I mean, it's just salt, magnesium, and potassium and some flavor. But
you have added the flavored electrolytes back into your diet.
Yeah, I was doing the unflavored, which I felt was hard mode, and they're just not sweet enough to make a difference. I don't think so. But I'm trying to keep my flavored elements around mealtime so that I'm not having that flavor between meals, because I'm trying to keep that insulin down. So if there could be any insulin response to it, I want to mitigate that. So that's kind of how I'm treating it right now. So we have Dr. Barry has a brand new video about this thing. Let's bring this up and see if
came out earlier this week. So
you should be seeing the hazard ratios for development of coronary heart disease, a 21.4-year follow-up, the Women's Health Study. I think it's interesting that it's a 21.4 year. This was fascinating. Do you want to reflect on this?
I can start. we have heard the carnivore doctors talk about how type 2 diabetes is like one of the largest risk factors for coronary disease. Is that the right?
Sure.
Okay, coronary disease. And obviously, many of us have bought into that because we're doing the carnivore diet. And, they say don't worry as much about your blood markers. Don't worry so much about your cholesterol markers, I should say. And so when he put up this study this week, it just really put all of that into a visual that I could see and that you can take to your doctor if you need to. So basically it shows how the type 2 diabetes has a 10.7 times risk factor. And I'm not sure if times is the right. The risk factor is 10.71.
Yeah, it's 10.7 times. Yeah.
And it is far weightier than any of the other things on there. 10.71. And why it's so important to work with your insulin and work with your blood sugar, because that is the highest risk factor by far, with metabolic syndrome coming in under it at 6.09, which again is what we're all addressing with carnivore. And hypertension is one of the things that resolves relatively quickly and consistently on the carnivore diet.
I didn't even mention that at the top. My blood pressure was elevated, and now it's normal. Beauty.
So by doing a ketovore, low carb, keto, carnivore diet, you are eliminating those top 3 risk factors for coronary heart disease. And not only that, but I just lost my train of thought.
Well, if you're getting rid of metabolic syndrome, which that's pre-diabetes, essentially, that's insulin resistance, which is down here in the blood markers ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that one gets dramatically reduced or corrected. And on carnivore, once you get your insulin under control, obesity begins to decline and you can get to healthy weight.
Yes.
But it can take a long time, but I think all progress towards that direction is beneficial.
Now he had, this isn't Dr. Berry's chart. This is the actual study, the chart from the study.
Mm-hmm.
And it says family history of premature coronary heart disease is a 1.5. And there's a 2 next to it. And my understanding from Georgia Ede is anything in this 1 range is kind of low, I believe. It is a lower risk factor, almost negligible.
Oh, from a standpoint of
statistical
epidemiology.
Yes,
it needs to be a high hazard ratio for it to actually
I might be mixing
rise
studies
above the noise.
or measurements too much.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
But his point, especially Dr. Berry's, and I recommend that video as well, is to hit these in order. So don't even worry about your triglycerides, which again, who knows the whole cholesterol story at this point, but don't even worry about those until you knock out those top risk factors. And that can pretty much be done fairly quickly doing a carnivore diet.
And most carnivores end up correcting the triglyceride problems. I haven't yet. And these other ones, either you don't worry about them or you argue on Twitter that they don't matter. By the way, we are now on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
You should follow us on X at JJ Eric something. I should be better at this than I am. Let me bring back this, and then I will drop that in the chat.
While you're doing that, we go to an integrative doctor, Great Lakes Integrative Medicine, and he tells us he's between paradigms right now. It's really hard for him to let go of the cholesterol paradigm that he was trained in. So he's kind of like, and this would be a great thing to bring to him at some point and be like, hey, doc.
The question I had immediately was, this was from the Women's Health Study, and does this apply to men?
That's a good one.
Now, you could imagine, I don't know what's happening to my voice. you could imagine.
He's aging so far in reverse that he's going through puberty again. That voice is cracking.
I forgot my point. Oh, but you could imagine that it at least roughly aligns with men.
I mean, to even say this is what I'm working on right now. I understand the statin or, the blood markers, but right now this is where I am aiming all my efforts at.
And I think it is helpful if you have a doctor who doesn't really seem to keep up on the research, who may be concerned about saturated fat and not getting enough fiber. They're all obviously not going to be aware of this. So that this could be quite educational and surprising.
Now, there was something else surprising in this. Do you have that or no?
It was the statin danger for women. And I don't remember where that quote was.
Oh, I thought. Again.
What was, I can't even remember what the.
So, it was about postmenopausal. I do remember that as well. But
yeah, this right here.
Okay.
So an unexpected finding was that postmenopausal women prescribed cholesterol-lowering medications were 49% increased risk of developing diabetes, type 2 diabetes. That's right. That's the finish of it.
So again, especially because this is a woman's study, if you are a woman and you don't want to go on the statin, that would be an excellent finding to bring to a healthcare provider.
Yeah. So, and let me actually show that. It's right here.
Oh, there it is.
So this is the quote we were just talking about. And this paper is available. I wish I had the link. It's linked in the description for Dr. Barry's video about this, and this is his newest video.
Dr. Barry always links the research. He wants you to look at it as well and not just take his word for it. So yes, it is linked right there. Yeah.
All right.
Very interesting.
So follow us on x.com, also known as Twitter, at JJ Eric Life. And the reason I started it up was one never knows whether this particular channel will always be here for us carnivores. And so I like to have an alternate way to reach you. If you're not on Twitter or X, don't worry about it. But if you are, give us a follow. And that will raise our followers there to be some real people.
Would you say we're getting the porn bots or something?
Well, I don't really know. They don't have any content, though. It's just girls who have no posts. And they don't even have a link in their bio. So I can't even find out what their game is. I don't understand what the point of it is. Anyway. Let's see what else people are saying here. Hi from New York. Did you go? We already talked about the.
Lisa, yeah.
I missed the New York part.
Oh.
I was trying to start a beef
between Kansas City and New York. I get it.
I was starting a beef between Kansas City and New York, and so we got representatives here. Casey is known for barbecue for sure. Jack Stack is quite popular, but none of that garbage is for me. I don't know what Jack Stack is. She goes on to say, KC strip. That's a great cut.
Oh.
So, but Bree, what distinguishes it from a New York strip? Is it the same? I need to know.
Inquiring mind.
Yeah. Lisa says she can eat bacon. Applegate, no sugar, no nitrates. My life is worth living again.
All right. So I hear you, Lisa. I've been on a big bacon kick, and I do okay with dairy. Like all my food stuff since I was 40 years old, I do pretty well with dairy unless I overdo it like I did that one weekend. That was not good. But I have been taking little hunks of cream cheese and wrapping bacon around them. Oh my goodness. Matter of fact, I've got some bacon waiting for me in the air fryer to have that when we're done here.
Well, I don't get the dairy, so I don't get to eat those treats.
Yeah, no, you don't. Sorry. But yeah, bacon, yay.
I wish I knew which one of these buttons played the sad trombone. Oh, it's this one. Did that even come through?
It came through, I think. Yeah. No, that is wonderful, Lisa.
Congratulations.
Yes. Oh,
I have bacon every morning in my scrambled eggs.
mm-hmm.
So we have some comments that I wanted to look at from previous videos. So we're going to get to that one last, because that's going to be a segue for us. So let me get our faces out of the way. So La vida es un carnaval. Life is a carnival.
Mm-hmm.
See, I can speakish some other language. I'm 50, been on carnivore 4 months and have lost 17 pounds so far. No cravings. I used to have chocolate every single day. Keep it up, guys. All I'm going to say to JJ, you are a very lucky gal. Eric is very handsome. And before and after. Oh, this was in response to our last video. You are very beautiful too. Don't get jealous.
Well, thank you. And I do think you're handsome too. Yes, very much. And I feel lucky. I was just talking to a coach of mine, and she's watched some of our videos and thinks I'm very lucky also with the relationship.
Oh, you hadn't told me about that.
Yeah. Now I have. Here with everyone else.
I need more info, but we'll save that for later.
There's not much more to tell, but she just, we have a really good relationship.
We do.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go see a movie together later.
Now that does not happen enough. Seriously, I don't remember the last movie we went to.
Me neither.
It's been ages.
No spoilers. We're going to see Twisters.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you don't have your tornado dreams.
I just have to swim out of the tornado. That's it. It's not a big deal.
Let's see here. User VD6TX4NG1F.
Hello, user.
That's a very memorable name. I watch all the influencers regularly. You are quickly becoming my favorite. I'm mostly carnivore, but have to add medicinal amounts of foods with oxalates to avoid being very sick. I learned this through hard lessons and Sally K. Norton. I was just watching a video with her yesterday.
Yeah, you were.
My vision has gone from needing prescription glasses to peepers off the shelf. I've lost inflammation, which also equals pounds. Many other benefits. Thank you for keeping it real life. Well, this was surprising to me because I went, wait a minute. Are we influencers? That never once occurred to me.
Oh my goodness. That reminds me, I've got to talk about my coming out of my YouTube closet later.
Okay. But I mean, I think of like Bella from Steak and Butter Gal.
Yeah.
She's an influencer. Carrie Mann and his whole family, his whole crew, influencers. We aspire to influence. So that was a very kind comment. What did you want to say?
That I came out of the YouTuber closet with my good friend this week. Yeah. So this is the friend that I eat salad with. So we have a lunch date or even a day-long date during the summer every week. And she knows that I eat mostly meat. That's not a secret. But this week with her kids around, I even mentioned that we have a YouTube channel, which was the influencer piece came up because her kids were just like gobsmacked about it. And they are age, I might get it wrong, about 9 and 12. I'm close there. I'm close. And they want to be YouTubers and they just got all excited about it and asked me all kinds of questions. And I think one of them, at least, maybe both of them, went home and tried to start
a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Well, I know one of them was like, Mom, see, you need to let me do this. And the other one was, had dollar signs in their eyes and was just like, oh,
yeah.
This could be more than picking up the aluminum cans.
No, it can't. It would be much better use of time to pick up aluminum cans if you're in it for the AdSense revenue. Not that it matters.
No,
Doesn't matter to us.
we are here, again, that term influencers I wouldn't use for us. And we are here to share our stories and experiences because it has been such a life-changing thing for us. So, yeah.
Amy says, "Oh, this is to our last video where I did my carnivore journey transformation. This was incredibly vulnerable, Eric. Thank you for sharing. My husband is having all of the same health concerns you were having prior to carnivore, and this gives me so much hope for him. He has figured out that his GI symptoms are IBS, and eating only meat makes his gut feel 100% normal, like nothing else can."
Bravo.
That right there, if you have IBS issues and you can reverse it through carnivore, you don't need another reason. I mean, that's a quality of life benefit that are just, you can't put a value on it. We are in our 40s and looking forward to a better decade in our 50s. P.S. The lighting in this video was the chef's kiss. I love it. You are both glowing, healthy, beautiful people.
Aw.
Well, I glow because she's next to me.
Aw.
But I was appreciative that she noticed our lighting because I keep working on it.
Yes.
Incremental improvements is the name of the game.
Awesome.
So some wonderful comments. We love those. If you're watching this on replay, please put in the comments about your benefits from carnivore, where you're located, and anything else related to what we're talking about today. So I want to jump down to Lisa real quick. Can you see the link? It's called Trace Concentrace.
Oh.
We did not see the link, but it might be that YouTube cuts links out of comments. I don't know. It's possible. But we know what it's called.
Thank
so
you.
We can find it.
Yes.
It's with the vitamins on the bottom shelf.
Okay. See, thank you for that too. I was in sort of I'll say the Gatorade section. There was in that drinks area, and there were a lot of different electrolyte drinks. So I will check that out. Absolutely.
I'm surprised Kool-Aid hasn't jumped on this.
Really?
And remember that Kool-Aid man barging through the walls?
Oh my gosh. We did not get Kool-Aid as a kid, but that was really common in the 70s. Most people had the Kool-Aid thing. It was very cheap, and it was, I think there was the perception that it was better than soda.
Oh, like it was better for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
Full of sugar. But I do remember going to like a birthday party and the mom would have Kool-Aid because it was cheap, right?
It was cheap.
And so you could mix that up in water and give kids little cups and they'd be happy and have the stupid Kool-Aid mustache.
That is true, though. The cup size back in the 70s was very different than, than the cup size now. Yes.
That's funny. All right. Bree says KC strip is bone in and New York strip is not.
Oh, excellent.
So many fond memories of my dad grilling KC strip when I was a kid, and he'd let me clean that bone clean. Y'all are both lucky.
Oh, thank you.
Well, now I know.
Yes, and I know I've had it with the bone in, but it's not often. But I snap it up when I can because it's usually cheaper.
So I know we see bone in ribeyes sometimes. What's the advantage of the bone in?
I believe it's that the bone actually imparts more flavor. I mean, not obviously did the whole meat, like if the bone's over here, the meat over here isn't getting a whole bunch. But I think there's more flavor around the bone.
Okay, so
is my understanding.
I always thought it was a scam in order to have it weigh more so that you'd pay more for something you couldn't eat.
Well, that's why they are cheaper. Usually,
they are cheaper?
Usually, if the bone is in, it's cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I never looked at that. I just was looking for a reason to be mad, which is totally uncommon nowadays.
Is it?
No. Where's my rim shot? I'm not on it. Oh, here we go. We're a comedy duo.
Oh my gosh.
For people with no sense of humor. Oh, that's so funny.
I am wearing my meat-based shirt today.
Yeah, you are.
But the exciting thing is for the first time ever, someone asked me about it. It was at Walgreens of all places. And this young woman said, oh, did I get out of order?
No, you're
Okay.
fine.
This young woman who was working there said, meat-based, is that like a company or something? And I said, no, it's how I eat. I eat mostly meat. And she's like, oh, and she seemed not bewildered or anything. She seemed totally, so it's kind of the opposite of vegetarian. And I said, exactly. And so I hope I just introduced something to one of the Gen Zers, and who
Maybe.
knows where it may go someday. I mean, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm an influencer, I influenced her with this one thing, but that seed is planted, so she might come across it again. And, I don't look old and sickly. I wasn't on, using my walker and my scooter or anything. No offense if you're in your walker and scooter. I'm sure you're trying to work that out. But yeah, we'll see. First person who's ever asked. So that was kind of fun. Now, in the future, I would maybe add something like, I'd say, yeah, I eat mostly meat, and the carnivore diet has given me my life back. I'd probably add a quick little, it's just given me so much energy. I just feel so great. Like I would add a little something.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
We typically on this live show a news item that talks poorly about carnivore. And I had one and I was like, I'm sick of it. They all say the same thing. So we're skipping that. And we also had a great video where a doctor, I don't know why I'm doing air quotes, because he actually was a doctor, came on to onto a news item to talk about carnivore. And he was not a big fan because saturated fats are bad and you need fiber. And I just looked at it and I was like, this guy isn't up to date. All right. One more comment I want to look at.
Yeah.
Chris Cooking Nashville. You guys watch Chris Cooking Nashville? I mean, he's mostly keto.
Yeah.
So many recipes. It's just amazing. But this was a comment last week's live from Hope Parrish. Chris Cooking Nashville has a bunch of recipes for steak toppers that you might enjoy. Also a recipe for a butter sauce that looks delicious. And that got me very excited because most sauces I can't really entertain because they're cream-based, dairy-based, and I'm not eating dairy right now. But a butter sauce sounded pretty interesting. And so I looked it up and I found his video, and it was for a beurre monte sauce, which I had never heard of before. It's French.
Yeah, it's probably Belmont.
Beurre monte. I don't know. But couldn't be easier to do. Even I can whisk butter into water at low heat. It does get tedious and boring after 30 seconds, but I'm able to do it. So this morning, I made a beurre monte, and against the rules a little bit, I added just a tiny bit of sriracha, and I poured that over my scrambled eggs and bacon, and it was pretty good. And I think that there's something to be said about this. But I love the video that Chris did on it because he shows several different versions of it where he puts different seasonings and herbs and stuff in it to put it over different dishes. So he had one for salmon. He had a different one for eggs. He put some sort of berries, pureed berries in it to put over his cheesecake.
Oh, interesting.
Which is, I guess, a keto cheesecake, but
yeah, cheesecake's pretty easy.
I'm not having that. And then he tests it out on his wife in every video.
Yes.
And then she goes, oh, this is amazing.
All right. Since we're talking about Chris for a second, I was just watching. He has also a newer carnivore noodle recipe. Now, I've done it once. I've done his carnivore noodles once, and it was pretty dang good. This new one is supposedly next level, and he did a taste test with a rando student of his, like a guitar student. And well, maybe I shouldn't spoil it. I'll just say his carnivore noodles ranked well. It was a blind taste test with some real flour-based noodles, and his noodles, she had no idea going into it about anything. And
are they made out of chicken?
They are predominantly made out of chicken. and he does a parboiling, and he uses a pastry bag to put them into water. The version I did wasn't that fussy, like it didn't have as many steps, but I do want to try it sometime.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds really amazing. But yeah, predominantly chicken, and I think egg powder or something like that.
So Keisha says, Twister was good, especially on the big screen. Enjoy. Well, we got to get there in less than an hour. So we're going to have to wrap up pretty soon. Fortunately, it's not too much of a drive. And Bree says, totally had tons of Kool-Aid. Michelle, hello to my favorite meat-based couple.
Hello,
oh, wow.
Michelle.
That's a big deal. There's lots of meat-based couples out there. Well, I feel special now. Thank you. And Lisa says, can't wait to have time to make his noodles.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. But again, it's a project, so it'll be a special meal. It'll be nice.
If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up on this. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because that is basically very helpful to us. If you haven't seen our past video, it's the thumbnail says Superpower, Carnivore Superpower. And unfortunately, it's me on the thumbnail. And that immediately reduces views by 2/3 because people want to see JJ. They want to see her before and after. She's the beauty. She's the face of the channel. I understand that. But you have to tell your story, and I can't tell my story without showing my face. So there it is. But as I don't remember who that was said, La Vida Carnival, you don't be jealous of how handsome that I was and am. But check that one out. It's very long. So I was thinking of maybe doing a short version of it for those of you with short attention spans. But we got into some of the weeds, including my long battle with health anxiety and how carnivore has helped me immensely with that without medication.
I was just going to say, we'd also love to hear if you like longer videos or shorter videos. Please put that in the comment because we're trying to decide what mix to do.
Right. Because the algorithm rewards mysteriously, and we don't really know. It's hard to chase it.
We don't know what you want.
And we're focused on you and as the audience, and we don't care so much about what YouTube does, but YouTube won't show it to people unless people are viewing it, which is a chicken and an egg kind of a thing.
It kind of is. Yeah.
I could eat a chicken and an egg right now.
You got to eat before your window closes.
My window's done. My window's closed. I'll eat breakfast.
I get those bacon cream cheese things waiting for me.
It's been our pleasure to be with you today.
Yes.
And we will be back with a new video on when?
Sunday morning.
Which is the day after tomorrow.
Yes.
And we even know what we're going to talk about. And then again on Wednesday. And then we'll be back here live next Friday. So thank you so much for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.